Hey everyone, welcome back to Dungeon Brew, where we are continuing our Monster Tactics series, and today we are talking about bugbears. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Dungeon Brew.
Hey everyone, we are talking about bugbears today on Dungeon Brew. We're going to talk about the various tactics that they like to employ whenever they get into combat. If you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be alerted anytime that we're posting new videos. Joshua, let's get started with bugbears. What do you know about these 7-foot tall, 400-pound goblinoids?
That they're way too quiet for how big they are. I actually had the pleasure of getting to play a bugbear recently in one of our campaigns, which I was really excited to get to do because I just think they're underrepresented, especially in newer campaigns or newer editions of D&D, and they're actually really badass monsters to have in the game because they're massive, they're brutish, but they have such high stealth that you can utilize them against your player characters in a way that can really be overwhelming.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, you mentioned that they were underrepresented. So, as a player character, fifth edition has made it to where they're available, which they've been available as a player character. I think at first in like second edition, way back in the '90s. That it was the first time that they actively created like a stat block.
Way back in the '90s. That's
Way
like
back in the
yesterday.
Well, it's been 30 years. Jeez. Okay, so anyway, they created it, but I feel like the other end of it is there's not a whole lot of love on the NPC side. Like, and I think that that's kind of what you're talking about with the underrepresentation is that when you're talking about orcs or goblins, there's all these variants that come in where it's like there's this type and this type and this type, and I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure for 5th edition there's still only like 2 or 3 variants where it's like there's the bugbear and the lieutenant and the chief, and that's kind of it. You don't get bugbear shamans, you don't get bugbear witch doctors, you don't get bugbear archers or board riders or whatever it happens to be. It's just kind of like there's the bugbear. And it's and the thing is that they're really kind of fun. I really enjoy them in employing them because they are brutal. They're dangerous to throw against your player characters.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to describe them. I think of them as being brutal predators, more or less, because they are not only have the ability to like overpower your characters, but they're pretty intelligent in the way that they do that.
Yeah,
maybe that's stretching, but I think of them as being like these intellectual stealthy just brutes that are all about taking advantage of not only maybe lesser goblinoids, but also in combat to get the upper hand, to just completely surprise attack or shock characters into a battle that immediately puts them on the defense and can, I don't know, just challenge the characters to be able to organize themselves quick enough to respond to the attack that they're experiencing.
Which we've used this word quite a bit when it comes to goblinoids in general, but cunning. The bugbears are considered to be cunning, and they're cruel. They're a high school bully. If the high school bully were again 7 foot tall and 400 pounds, and just delighted in wreaking havoc on anything smaller or weaker than he was, and that's the thing is that as far as goblinoids go, they are the apex goblinoid. They are bigger and stronger than all of the other ones, and then they've got that cunning and that stealth thrown in on it, and a bugbear can go in and basically take control anywhere that they want to, realistically, among goblinoids. And that's kind of what they do. They don't tend to have very large tribes by themselves, so more often than not they kind of assume control over other tribes, or there's a small cadre of bugbears who go, okay, they go into the orc camp or the goblin camp and are basically like bully or kill their way into leadership and say, okay, we're in charge now. And then they use all of the lesser goblinoids to fulfill whatever it is that they want, to ensure that they have food and supplies and treasures or whatever they think that they need.
So if we're talking about tactics specifically with bugbears, that's how I think about utilizing them in a game as a GM is having them have a small force of goblins or orcs that are with them, with maybe 1 or 2 bugbears, and assaulting players with them. Essentially saying, all right, goblins, we are going to go and we're going to raid this camp of adventurers at night, and we're going to do it at night because they have dark vision, so that's the best time for them to really jump in on the enemy. And the goblinoids are going to move in on the camp at the bugbear's signal, which might be, launching an arrow through the dark to strike an enemy, and then the goblinoids rush in. They may take the damage, they may be the ones that fall, but the bugbear eventually can become victorious out of that battle, walking away with a handful of goblins afterwards, after ambushing the characters.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, they're very similar to they're similar to goblins in that cunning, that ambush. That's what they want to do. They don't want a straight fight. They want to take advantage in whatever way they can. They're sneaky, they're stealthy, like you've mentioned. They want to take advantage of that. But when push comes to shove, they've also got that brute ability in 5e that allows them to throw an extra damage dice. So it's like if they're toe-to-toe, they hit hard. They hit really hard. And that combination just makes them very dangerous. So it's kind of like if a goblin and a gnoll had a baby and it was 7 feet tall and 400 pounds. But like as far as the gnolls go, because like you said, they're predators. They like to hunt weaker creatures. They like to take advantage of weaker creatures, and similar to the gnolls and goblins as well, if they are being outmatched, they will retreat. They are not going to stay there and fight to the death. They're intelligent enough to know that it's better to live and fight another day.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Is there specific ways that you would use them tactically? I mean, I think about them always being paired up with lesser goblinoids and maybe only having 1 or 2 with the lesser goblinoids. But are there specific things that you would think that DMs need to know about how to utilize them in battle?
Yeah, so let's talk about a couple of those. So you were talking about like ambushes, and I've said that a couple of times as well. Ambush is the go-to. They make use of scouts, and they will either scout themselves because they're stealthy, or they will bully lesser goblinoids into doing that, such as goblins. And they'll basically be like, scout around this area. And the idea is that they go, okay, there's a merchant caravan coming down the road that's got 10 guards. And they've got 10 scouts in the woods. They're not going to take that fight. They're going to send their scouts back. They're going to recruit as many of their allies as they possibly can until they're doubling or tripling or quadrupling the numbers of the guards on that that caravan, and then they're going to strike. They're going to set up the terrain in the way that they want. So they're like, we know that you're going to come through this canyon. We know that you're going to be passing through these woods. They're going to do something in order to guarantee success as best as they can. And some of the ways that they like to do that is, they're going to, put a pit trap in the middle of the road. So as the horses are passing on it, they fall in this pit, and it stops the caravan or the wagons from being able to move. They might have a tree mostly chopped down, and they'll take a couple of bugbears who are strong enough to just push it over all the way, land on top of the caravan. They may smash some goods, but they're going to kill a lot of people, and they delight in that. But anything like that where they can basically immobilize, frighten, and otherwise gain a huge advantage at the start of the fight is the way that they're going to do it. They don't tend to use a lot of the hit and run tactics in the same way that goblins do, which is something that they're a big fan of. They're not going to do what the orcs do, which is like they don't want to draw attention to themselves. They're not going to be yelling and banging drums and things like that. But to some degree, they have that cunning that the hobgoblins have, where they're going to make use of their troops in ways that are beneficial to them, mostly to preserve themselves. So they're not doing it necessarily from the sense of, we're doing this to win the battle. They're doing it from the sense of, send the pawns in first. So they will ambush the wagon, drop a tree on top of it, right? Let the goblins start firing arrows, and send the orcs in to start fighting. Because there's, like you said, in most cases, there's probably only a handful of bugbears to begin with. And the bugbears, after the orcs have joined battle, they will come in the second wave or the third wave to try and mop things up once they already feel like they've won the battle. Or they feel like they can win the battle by turning the tides and entering into it.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about hobgoblins, and while bugbears I may not put on the same level as hobgoblin tacticians, I do think that bugbears have some sense of tactical play that they use to their benefit during the course of it. And I really appreciate that you're mentioning the terrain and utilizing that, because I think that that is something that is a must in playing bugbears, whether they're hiding in the weeds or pushing over those trees or having a pit that's being drawn. Every bugbear encounter, in my mind, unless they're being caught unawares, should involve some sort of terrain advantage that they're trying to utilize, which will set them apart from some of the other goblinoids that we've talked about.
Right, because in particular, we mentioned that orcs aren't very fond of ambush, but if there is a bugbear who is bullying the tribe into basically submission, then they're going to follow what the bugbear says. And these are the instances where you see the orcs acting a little bit against their nature, which we had talked about in the last one of the last videos where we talked about orcs, where it's like you always see them ambushing. Well, they will if they're forced to, but that's not really what they're good at.
Yeah, when you got a 7 foot, whatever, 600-pound, goblinoid standing in front of you, whose arms are as big as tree trunks, you're probably going to do what he tells you to do.
He's as fat as 2 ogres. All right. But yeah, no, I agree. That's basically what's going on here, and that's what the bugbear relies on, is their physical presence to be able to do what they need to do. And it's beneficial in some regards to the goblins. I mean, the bugbears, kind of like the hobgoblins, are often met with success because they're tactically cunning. They understand how to take advantage of a situation so that they and their allies can benefit from it.
Yeah. I don't know there's much else that I have to add specifically on bugbears. Like I said, I don't see them utilized as much as they should be, but I think that they have just, I don't know, they have a great amount of use in D&D if you just pull them back into the game again. I want to see a book just written on bugbears, man. I just want to see them fully lifted up again.
I want to see more variants. I want to see more options with them. I think that as a DM, you can get creative. You can look at other variants for other races or other monsters. I mean, look at ogres. Look at orcs. You can create bugbear berserkers. You can create bugbear assassins. Those types of things are going to make sense with the stat block that they already have, and it's not that big of a deal to put them together. Realistically, you can just look at the assassin. I think that there's an assassin in the first monster manual, and you can just assign some bugbear stats on top of that, and it can be a very brutal opponent, just the amount of damage that can output. And it's dangerous to the players, but I don't think that there's a whole lot that they can't do if you get into either the physical fighting aspects or the stealth aspects, and either one of those can make for a number of different variants for the stat blocks to give you some options when it comes to using them tactically in play.
Well, I hope that all of you here at Dungeon Brew are as terrified of bugbears as I am. In the meantime, I would like to hear your own experiences with bugbears. Let us know how you've used them in combat, maybe some special things that we haven't touched on in this video. And as always, hit that like button, hit the bell, hit subscribe, and we will see you all next time.
Dungeon Brew.